Radamel Falcao is the ultimate what-if story in football. While Falcao certainly accomplished a lot of things as a footballer, he could have done so much more. At one point, it seemed inevitable that Falcao was going to become a legend with his goal scoring and skills, but it didn't pan out that way. Even his full name, Radamel Falcao Garcia Zarate, just oozes of football heritage, with him being named Falcao after the Brazilian football player Roberto Falcao. And he got the name Radamel Garcia from his father, who was also named Radamel Garcia, and he was a professional player on his own, playing for the Colombian national team at one point in the Olympics. And it was clear to see Falcao was destined to be something great, when at just 13 years and 199 years old, he made his professional debut for Lanceros Boyacá in the Colombian second tier. He would be used as a substitute, but the next season when he turned 14 years old, he would be used a decent bit more, as he played 7 games and even scored a goal that season. By this point, it was clear Falcao was special, so he went on trial with the Argentinian side Millonarios, but they decided against signing him. Their rivals River Plate would quickly capitalize on their mistake, and they decided to sign Falcao for $500,000 when he was just 15 years old. Falcao would move and live in Argentina by himself, where he would work his way up in the River Plate U team until 2005, when he was called up for his senior debut against Independiente. And this match started off with him scoring just before halftime, and he scored another one in the second half to help River Plate win 3-1. He would get off to a hot start after his debut, as he managed to score 7 goals in 7 games to start his career. What most people didn't know at the time was he was also studying for a journalism degree at the University of Palermo, as he started his professional career at River Plate. Unfortunately for Falcao, after the hot start, he was injured. He injured his ligaments in his right knee, which kept him in the sidelines for a couple of months. His bad luck would continue when he came back in pre-season, as he injured the same exact ligaments, which required him to get surgery that held him unplayable for 6 months. Falcao would come back in September next season, but he wouldn't look as sharp as he did, and would only end up playing in 12 games and scoring only once. However, in the next season, he would absolutely explode, as he looked like a completely different version of the player he was last season, as he managed to score 19 goals in 39 games. His performance attracted plenty of attention from European clubs, and he was even offered to Aston Villa for £5 million, but they instead decided to sign Emil Heskey. He ended up staying at River Plate for the next season, and he would continue scoring goals at a high rate, this time scoring 16 goals in 38 games. After this season, it was clear he was ready for a step up in Europe, and Portuguese giants Benfica were initially interested, with them making a €4.7 million bid. But they ended up backing out of the deal because Falcao asked for an extra €700,000. 1 week after Benfica backed out of the deal, Porto would swoop in, with them offering €3.9 million, but they would only get 45% of the rights to Falcao, with the rest going to a third party named Doyen Sports. Third party ownerships were common during this time, with third parties helping clubs pay for players in return for a percentage of their future sale price. He scored in his debut for Porto at the 79th minute as he helped Porto secure a 1-1 draw against Pacos de Ferreira. And Falcao would soon after score his first ever Champions League goal against Atletico Madrid in the group stages by scoring a backheel goal to help Porto win. In the Champions League, Porto would get matched up with Arsenal in the round of 16. And the game was 1-1 coming out of halftime until Falcao scored off a Fabianski error to turn the leg 2-1 for Porto. Unfortunately for Porto and Falcao, they would get smacked 5-0 in the next match as they got eliminated from the Champions League. However, Porto wouldn't go empty-handed that season, as they would win the Portuguese Cup against Chaves in a 2-1 game where Falcao scored in the 23rd minute to help them win. And as the season ended, it was clear that Falcao was a force to be reckoned with, even in Europe, with him scoring 34 goals in only 43 total matches, with 25 of those goals coming from the Portuguese league, which made him the second highest scorer, only one behind the top scorer Oscar Cardozo. Porto would play in the Europa League the next season, and Falcao would steamroll through teams in the group stages, as he scored 7 goals in 6 group stage games as Porto finished top of the group with 16 points. Falcao and company would quickly beat Sevilla and CSK Moscow in the first 2 rounds to reach the quarterfinals to face another Moscow club, this time Spartak Moscow. However, Spartak Moscow would prove to be no match for Porto, as they got beaten 3-10 in aggregate, with Falcao contributing 4 goals to the tally. As Porto advanced to the semifinals, they would be matched up with Villarreal. In the first leg, Falcao would score 4 goals, just in second half alone, to turn the leg 5-1 as the match finished. He would return in the second leg to score another goal, to help Porto move on to the finals as they beat Villarreal 7-4 in aggregate. In the final, they would play domestic rivals Braga, and the game would stay scoreless until the 44th minute, as Falcao scored a header to put Porto up 1-0, with Falcao setting a new Europa League scoring record with his 17 goals in 14 games. The rest of the game would stay scoreless as Porto won their second ever Europa League trophy, as Falcao won his first ever European trophy. And by the end of the season, it was clear that this was Falcao's best ever season, with Porto also winning the Portuguese League with 84 points and also winning the Portuguese Cup against Vitória Guimarães, with Falcao contributing to this by scoring 38 goals in 42 matches. After Porto's historic treble-winning season, Atletico Madrid offered 40 million euros with potential to go up to 50 million based on incentives for Falcao to make him the most expensive signing in Atletico Madrid history. However, Atletico Madrid would receive some help to pay this sum, as Doyen Sports Group would appear once again, this time to help facilitate Falcao's move to Atletico Madrid. With a high price tag comes high expectations, and Falcao managed to reach and even exceed the expectations to start off his Atletico Madrid career, as he scored 6 goals in his first 3 matches. However, even with Falcao's great performances, Atletico struggled, as Madrid sat 11th in the table in December, which caused them to fire their manager Gregorio Manzano and hire Falcao's former manager for River Plate, Diego Simeone. Under Simeone, Atletico would set up a new counter-attacking system that depended on defending deep and capitalizing their chances. This would work very well as Atletico quickly picked up their form, with Falcao making sure to convert most of the chances he received. This pickup in form would come at a great timing, as the Europa League knockouts rounds were just around the corner, with Atletico Madrid getting matched up with Lazio in the round of 32. Falcao would come out guns blazing in the first leg as he scored 2 goals and assisted 1, as Atletico would beat Lazio 3-1 in the first leg, which would be good enough for them to move on to the round of 16 after winning 1-0 in the second leg. Atletico would face Besiktas in the round of 16, but they proved to be easy work, as Atletico beat Besiktas 6-1 in aggregate. In the quarterfinals, Atletico would face off against Hannover 96, and Falcao would score in each leg to help Atletico beat Hannover 4-2 and advance to the semi-finals. In the semi-finals, they would face their La Liga rivals Sevilla, and Falcao would start off the first leg, scoring in the 19th minute to put Atletico up 1-0, and would then double his tally in the 79th minute to score again, to put up Atletico 3-1, with the game ending 4-1. And Atletico would manage to hold on to their lead in the second leg as they beat Sevilla 1-0 to move on to the finals to face Athletic Bilbao. To start the game off, Falcao would get a defender slipping and scored a beautiful curler goal to put Atletico up 1-0 in the 6th minute, and he would follow that goal up by breaking another defender's ankles and scoring in the 33rd minute this time to put Atletico up 2-0. And those 2 goals would be enough for Atletico as they beat Athletic Bilbao 3-0 to win the Europa League. With this, Falcao had become the first ever player to win back-to-back Europa Leagues with 2 different teams, as he scored 36 goals in 50 total matches and was called the best signing of the 21st century by the Marca newspaper. In the start of next season, Atletico Madrid would play Chelsea in the Super Cup, and in this game Falcao was at his peak, and he would shine, as he scored not 1, not 2, but 3 goals in the first half alone, in a display that was described by Simeone as indescribable. He would continue his crazy run in the league, and by October he would be voted top 5 in the Ballon d'Or voting. And by near end of the season, Falcao would get a chance to add another trophy to his cabinet, as he would play in the Copa del Rey final against Real Madrid. The game started off 1-0 with Ronaldo scoring a header in the 14th minute, but Atletico would come right back as Falcao played the pass to Diego Costa to tie the game 1-1, and it stayed scoreless for the rest of the full time. So the game went to extra time, where in the 97th minute, Miranda would score a header off of a cross to win the game 2-1 for Atletico. And by the end of this season, he topped his goal scoring tally from last year, as he scored 34 goals in 41 matches, with 28 of those goals coming from La Liga, where he finished the 3rd highest scorer, only behind Ronaldo and Messi. But at this point, a familiar face would appear yet again, because remember Doyen Sport? Well, by this point they were growing impatient, because they haven't received any return on investment for the money they poured into Falcao's career, so they decided to cash in on him at this time. Huge clubs like Chelsea and Real Madrid were interested, but they were quickly put off by the price tag put by Doyen Sports. So the club that Falcao would be heading to was Monaco, who was just promoted from Ligue 2 to Ligue 1 that season. You might be asking, how can a newly promoted Ligue 1 team outspend giant clubs like Chelsea and Real Madrid? Well, Monaco had just been taken over by a Russian billionaire called Dmitry Rybolev, and since Monaco is a sovereign region, it doesn't have to pay income tax, which allows them to also outspend teams in wages. This move was seen as a downgrade by everyone, and Falcao was also very sad to leave Atletico, understandably so, and in a press conference saying, "What we have achieved in these 2 seasons has been the stuff of dreams, and has been unforgettable for me." Him staying in Atletico is the ultimate what-if story, because right after leaving Atletico, they would win the league and reach the Champions League finals. So who knows how much better they could have been if he stayed not just for the next season, but for future seasons. In Monaco, he would continue to score goals at a high rate, with him scoring 9 goals in his first 17 games in Ligue 1, until Monaco played the 4th-tier team in the French Cup. And the game would start off normal as usual until in the 48th minute, Soner Ertic, a primary school teacher, would put in a dangerous tackle that would take Falcao out the game. It was soon revealed that Falcao suffered an ACL injury that would force him out for more than 6 months. And this was not only horrible because he would miss the rest of the Ligue 1 season, but this would also mean that he would miss the upcoming World Cup. This caused a massive uproar in the Colombian community, as they had a squad that was capable of making a decent run, but with their best player Falcao out, it was looking unlikely they were going to do much. Colombian fans even went as far as to post death threats to Soner Ertic, but Falcao was gracious through this whole exchange, tweeting, "Soner Ertic, thank you for your post. Do not blame yourself. Accidents happen in football." In the World Cup though, Colombia would shock everybody and become the Cinderella team of the tournament, reaching all the way to the quarterfinals until they got knocked out by Brazil in a close 2-1 game. And this is another what-if moment for Falcao, as if he never got injured in that game, who knows how far Colombia could have reached. And by the next season, Monaco completely changed their plans, as they decided to reset their team and sell all their top players to replace them with youth. So Falcao was sent on loan with an option to buy to Manchester United, where he would get paid £265,000 per week. This move was seen as a huge get for Manchester United, as just a year before Falcao was considered one of the best players on the planet. However, this season was a bit of a disaster for Falcao, as it was clear he had not fully recovered from his injury, and was only a shell of his former self and would even get benched in favor of a 19-year-old James Wilson, with him later on even getting left out of the squad with James Wilson replacing him. Falcao would soon reach his lowest point in his career when Van Gaal put him in to play in an under-21 match against Tottenham, which caused many people to criticize Van Gaal, with even Maradona describing Van Gaal as he was closer to the devil than anything. And by the end of the season, he would go on to only score 4 goals in a total of 29 games, and he was considered one of, if not the worst signing of the season. However, he would soon get a chance to redeem himself, as Chelsea decided to sign him on a loan option just the next season, with Jose Mourinho believing he could fix him. Unluckily for Falcao, injury problems would come back to haunt him, as he would suffer a thigh muscle injury in training on November and would re-injure the thigh, and this time it would be very serious, as he would be sidelined for a total of 150 days. This injury completely took out Falcao out of the squad, as he would only play 12 games that season, only scoring 1 goal, with Chelsea opting to not activate their buy clause. As he returned to Monaco, Falcao's perception and confidence was at an all-time low, with him coming off of back-to-back flop seasons, with many questioning if his career was done as a top player. He would also be returning to an unrecognizable Monaco squad, because now the team was filled with young new additions like Benjamin Mendy, Bernardo Silva, Fabinho, Kylian Mbappe, and Thomas Lemar. The doubters though would all be proven wrong, as Falcao came out scoring goals at a mad pace that was only seen back in his Atletico days, with him scoring 10 goals in his first 579 minutes of Liga football, which is close to 1.5 goals per 90 minutes. Falcao would carry his great form from Ligue 1 to the Champions League, as Monaco faced Man City in the round of 16, where Falcao first scored in the 32nd minute with a header, and in the 61st minute scored yet again by chipping the keeper, as Monaco lost 5-3. Injuries would unfortunately strike yet again, as Falcao had to sit out in the second leg, but all hope was not lost, as Mbappe and Fabinho would score quickly in the game to tie the game 5-5. But Sané would put Man City back up 6-5 until Bakayoko scored a header in the 77th minute to put Monaco up on away goals at 6-6 as they advanced to the quarterfinals. Falcao would come back for the quarterfinals against Borussia Dortmund, and Monaco took care of things in the first leg as they beat Dortmund 3-2 behind Mbappe's brace, and in the second leg, Falcao would score in the 17th minute to put Monaco up 5-2 as Monaco won in the aggregate 6-3. Monaco's underdog run would ultimately end there though, as they would get eliminated in the next round by Juventus as they were defeated 4-1. However, even with the elimination, it was still a wildly successful season for Falcao, as they finished the season scoring 30 goals in 43 appearances and also winning the Ligue 1 for the first time in 17 years for Monaco, and also would get nominated for the Ballon d'Or for his performances that season. And it was clear at this point that Falcao was not done as a top player, and he would carry this great form in the next 2 seasons as he finished as the top scorer for each season for Monaco until his contract expired. He would then sign with Galatasaray, but his stint with the Turkish club would soon be riddled with injuries, with the club deciding to terminate his contract just after 2 seasons. Falcao would then join Rayo Vallecano, where he is currently at, and has shown he is still capable of scoring in a top competition. However, with all that being said, it's a bit sad considering what Falcao could have done if he wasn't riddled with injuries or wasn't forced to move to Monaco with his Doyen Sports Group. But I hope this video does well to portray Falcao of how great he was and shows and just reminds everybody of what he was capable of.